There has been a shortage of baby formula, and people are kind of questioning why that's the case. And it turns out corporate greed has a lot to do with it. In fact, there was a massive recall of baby formula because it was making babies sick. As many as 4 babies were hospitalized. 2 of them died as a result of this poisonous baby formula that was being produced by Abbott Nutrition, the maker of Similac and other popular formula brands. Now, turns out that they had a machine that wasn't functioning properly. That was leading to the spread of bacteria. It led to an outbreak of cronobacter among babies, and that's why they had to do the recall. But instead of spending the money to either replace or repair their machinery to ensure that they weren't putting out dangerous, toxic baby formula, they decided to invest that money in stock buybacks instead and dividends for their shareholders. Now, how do we know about all this? Turns out that there was a whistleblower, a former employee who blew the whistle on this corporation because he noticed that there were some questionable things at play at this facility. He noticed that there were some unsafe behaviors taking place, and he was concerned. And not only was the corporation at fault, but the FDA was kind of just like sitting around not doing anything about it until months and months later. So let me give you the detail. Information in the confidential whistleblower document was provided by a former employee who worked in the production plant in quality systems. So he's in quality systems. This is a facility in Sturgis, Michigan, and it's part of Abbott's nutritional division. Now, here's what they found, okay? Here's what he blew the whistle on. For several years, some of the equipment associated with the drying process at the Sturgis site was failing and in need of repair. As a result, a number of product flow pipes were pitting and leaving pinholes. This allowed bacteria to enter the system and at times led to bacteria not being adequately cleaned out in clean on place washes. This in turn caused product flowing through the pipes to pick up the bacteria that was trapped in the defective pipe. So they have this malfunctioning machine, this machine that has some pretty terrible flaws that's leading to the product being tainted with bacteria. And again, they decided to just leave it alone, not do anything about it, because it would require investing some money back into the company, repairing that machinery or replacing that machinery. And why would you do that when the FDA is willing to look the other way, and when you can take that money and invest it in shareholders instead? Shareholders, by the way, include the executives for the corporation. They're usually compensated not only through a salary, but also through shares of the company. So why not pay yourself a little more, knowing full well that that bacteria could hospitalize or kill babies? That's what's going on.
Yeah, so now Republicans all over the place, and you turn on any media and you'll see it, are blaming Joe Biden and his administration for the shortage. But wait a minute, how could the administration have anything to do with the shortage when the reason is crystal clear in this case? One of the companies was producing baby formula that killed babies, so they had to shut down the factory. That's what's causing the shortage. There's absolutely no dispute over that. And they're going, ha, it's Biden. And what is Biden the schmuck doing? As usual, just eating it, right? It's not quite really our fault. No, you counterattack, you moron. You say, hey, this is why we need regulation. The Republicans said we don't need any regulation, and now your babies are dead because of the Republicans. Oh my God, you'd have to criticize Republicans, Joe. Joe, they're the other goddamn party, okay?
No, Cenk, it's worse than that. Let's call a spade, okay? Let's call it like it really is. Because I think that it's a huge mistake to assume that the Democratic Party is any different from the Republican Party in regard to wanting to regulate corporations. It is Joe Biden who told his Wall Street donors during the Democratic primaries that nothing will fundamentally change, and he meant it. He doesn't believe in regulations, which is why, look, 2 things would need to happen, Cenk, okay? He would need to A, wake up from his daily nap to actually be a president for once in his life. And 2, he would need to, yes, you're right, fight back against Republicans, but he would have to fight back against Republicans if he disagrees with them. He doesn't disagree with them. Okay, the toothless FDA is toothless precisely because we have two political parties who enable what we're seeing right now. Don't get it twisted.
100%. And the job of the mainstream media is to gaslight you into thinking that somebody's doing something about it. They're not doing a goddamn thing about it. All they're doing is collecting checks from those same corporations and putting in their pockets, putting in their campaigns. That's what corporate Democrats do, corporate Republicans do. It's been corporate rule for at least 40 years in this country. All right, so now back to what actually happened. So the whistleblowers in this case, I read the whole report. It's amazing all the things that they did. So I'll give you from the simplest to the most egregious. So they keep all the records on paper. And so people that are working at the factory, they're like, I don't get it. Why is everything on paper? It doesn't make sense. They don't use computers at all. Because it turns out, once you enter it into a computer, you can't undo it. They can find that evidence, whether it's you need to do an investigation in a forensic style or not. But if you put it on paper, super easy to change the paper. So in this case, they don't want a computer trail, right? So that's why they have this outdated system that's outdated by decades. Okay, so that's the simplest version of it. Then there are way worse things where, for example, they find a contamination in a batch. They remove the part that they think, okay, well, that's the part where we've definitely spotted the contamination. Now the rest of the batch, at a minimum, you have to test, because if that part is contaminated, there's an excellent chance that the rest is contaminated. Nope, they don't even test it. They just ship it out to your kids. Your kids get a contaminated batch, they're gonna die. Well, actually a couple of them did. By the way, where's the pro-life movement? Shouldn't the pro-life movement be livid about these baby killers? And say, God damn it, we need regulation to protect our babies from these corporate monsters who kill them for profit. Oh, nowhere to be found.
Profit over lives. Profit over lives, profit over lives. We see it happen over and over and over again with the right wing. They love protecting lives unless their campaign coffers, need that extra funding, or they can, increase their own bottom line, whatever it is. That's who they are. That's who they really are.
And so if I told you the whole thing, it'd take up the rest of the show, but I'll give you one last one. The FDA is coming to regulate. And so they go to great lengths, according to the whistleblower, to trick the FDA. And then they do strategy meetings about how to trick the FDA to make sure they don't find the bacteria. Afterwards, they celebrate once they have tricked the FDA, and they go, I can't believe they didn't catch the bacteria. It's going into the kids, it endangers their life. But for just a little bit extra profit, we tricked the regulators. Now we can go back to making money by sending this poison into people's babies. It's literally meant for babies. Okay,
and I got to show you guys the numbers. I have to show you, because this is what we're talking about. I mean, I don't know how much it would cost to fix that machine that poisoned babies, but this is what they decided to spend their money on instead. Let's take a look at graphic 8 here. It shows you corporate stock buybacks. It's broken down by quarter. In the quarter ending March 31st, 2022, they spent $2.3 billion on corporate stock buybacks. In the quarter ending December 31st, 2021, $974 million. I mean, you see the numbers there. Hundreds of millions of dollars they spend every quarter on corporate stock buybacks. But don't worry, they make sure to pay their shareholders dividends in addition to that, right? Corporate stock buybacks, you just buy shares of your own company's stock that artificially inflates the value of the shares. Executives are paid that way. And if the share increases in value, that means that all of a sudden they're richer. That's why they do it. Abbott rewards shareholders shares record all-time high. That is a headline from NASDAQ, and it's specifically referring to the dividends that they pay to their shareholders. Abbott, which is part of this is so funny, Dividend Aristocrat Index, increased its quarterly common dividend by 4.4% to 47 cents per share, following a 25% increase in its common dividend in 2021. This marks the 392nd consecutive quarterly dividend paid by Abbott since 1924. The dividend is payable on February 15th, 2022 to shareholders on record as of January 14th, 2022. So it's all about shareholder capitalism. It's all about making sure they look out for the people who do what? They just invest their money in the corporation, sit on their ass and do nothing else.
Yeah.
And all they care about is the value of the shares going up? Am I getting my dividends? Yeah, babies are dying, but who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, well, look, to be fair to the shareholders, they at least invested in the company, and I get it, and they don't know how the company is operating. They do now, but they didn't back then. But I would investigate.
The way most companies operate in this country.
Yeah, but but look, the real issue is, did the executives know? If the executives knew that they had a massive problem with that might actually lead to fatalities, and that's why they, instead of fixing the problem, they start doing the stock buybacks so their bonuses can be larger, especially if they're gonna dump their stock because they know they're gonna run into trouble. Now, if there was anyone that was actually looking out for you in the government, and that's what the government is supposed to do, it's supposed to protect you, cops, military, and yes, regulation, right? But there is no one in government who's here to help you. Biden isn't gonna do it. Democrats wouldn't hold corporations accountable if their life depended or if your kid's life depended on it. You think the Republicans would? No, the Republicans love it. They aid and abet this. So, I mean, progressives would, but we're nowhere near power. Although if you watch mainstream media, you would think everything is our fault. Really, we're in power? Show me one person that's a progressive that's in power. None, zero. I wish it weren't the case. These corporate politicians have been driving this country into the ditch, into an absolute disaster. There's no way they're gonna check those corporations. And finally, what's the right wing dealing with this? Remember, they're the theoretical populists. Oh, they're looking out for the average American, right? Candace Owens has a theory that we're gonna talk about in the bonus episode, that's just for the members. Her theory is, it's a Bill Gates conspiracy. That's why there's a baby food shortage. It's because of Bill Gates. By the way, why is she doing that? As I'll explain in the bonus episode, because now they're all trying to kiss up to Elon Musk, and Elon Musk hates Bill Gates. So you're not gonna find out who actually did it. The right wing doesn't care about that at all. You're just gonna blame random competitors of the oligarch that you're looking for cash from. This is the sick state of affairs, with the right wing media lying 24/7 on purpose, and mainstream media, by the way, doing the same thing, but not on behalf of specific oligarchs, but on behalf of corporations. You know why? Because mainstream media are multi-billion-dollar corporations. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.